You are listening to Mr. Apex Podcast. We love MotoGP.
Hello and welcome to Mr. Apex MotoGP Podcast. This is a show put together by MotoGP fans pretending to be experts. We aim to have a race review show ready for a midweek commute. We may just be punters, but we love to talk. The French Grand Prix weekend marked the exact 1-year anniversary of a busted-up Jorge Martin heading towards a meeting point nearby Le Mans just to tell Aprilia he was rage-quitting the team. Fast forward to now, and the 2024 world champ bagged the maximum points tally by securing both the sprint win as well as the Grand Prix. But where Aprilia rose, Ducati's stronghold took another huge blow. I'm your host, Jules Segas, and once again, the missed Apex late season injury curse has struck me, leaving just one fellow MotoGP enthusiast. But he's none less than our token northerner, Danny Hanny. Danny, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, Jules. Yeah, we're on our own this week, so we'll see if we can keep the boat going down the river and try and talk about some topics and keep the listeners engaged.
Yeah, we'll do a fine job, no doubt. Let's start the weekend with a quick overview. The weekend started like the previous 4 this season with Dorna and the team still in argument over the new 27 and onwards financial agreements. And that leaves all rider announcements for next season still on hold. So it's still officially not Marc Marquez for another 2 years at Ducati, and not officially Pedro Acosta joining him, leaving Pecco Bagnaia going to Aprilia, which we can't officially say still. Joining Baz and Jorge Martin to Yamaha, still not official. Joined by Ogura, still not official, etc., etc. Anyways, what is official, that we started the weekend with Marco Bezzecchi leading his teammate Jorge Martin with 11 points. Still no Maverick Vinales. He's still recovering from his shoulder injury. And this time KTM did have a replacement lined up, namely Jonas Folger, the German who returned from an absence of 3 years. In 2023, he did 6 races for the Tech 3 team. We had a lot of updated machines after the Jerez Grand Prix. We had the Monday test. A lot of happy riders after that, and pretty much everyone said they found something during the test. So that's a good sign. Didn't really get Marc Marquez still shooting like a rocket from Friday morning on. He had a slow start on the Friday. And while the Hondas had a good Friday morning practice session, and all eyes were on Johan Zarco, the home rider who, of course, won last year's Le Mans Grand Prix, and it looked promising. Actually, the Friday practice afternoon, Zarco was fastest. Digi was second, with Pecco Bagnaia happy with his updated bike in third, but he crashed on his penultimate lap on the Friday afternoon, which determines which 10 riders, of course, go straight to Q2 on Saturday. And that meant Marc Marquez had to cancel his last lap and needed to get through Q1 first. So, surprise in Q2 also was Alex Rins. He's still around, and he somehow got into Q2 on the Saturday. But you're not Marc Marquez if you're not pulling something out of your head. And in the Q1 session, he smashed the lap record at Le Mans. And actually, the pole time in Q2 was 4/10 slower than his time in Q1. But we'll get to that in a bit. I didn't. Did you see that image of Pecco smiling, laughing about the record lap by Mark, Danny?
I did, yeah. I think it took everybody by surprise. You certainly didn't see it coming because he'd had like a pretty slow build up to the weekend. He looked very reserved within himself. You could definitely tell that he was nursing a wound. He weren't at full strength, but yeah, that lap kind of come out of nowhere and caught everybody's attention. And yeah, even Pecco were laughing his head off, weren't he? As if to say, like, where's that come from?
Yeah.
I've had this guy in my pocket all weekend. But yeah, it certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons and laid down what we was expecting really from him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something in the middle of a smile, like yeah, of course, when it really counts, then he's there, and the smile of like, wow, this guy is unbelievable. It was. I thought it showed a nice touch of how their in-team relationship is, which is far from strained. I think. And it got Mark and Fabio through to Q2, which was a great session. There were some games between Digi and Mark, as we mentioned on previous shows. Not the biggest of pals, but nothing too serious. And Pekka Bagnaia somehow he snatched pole, where a lot of pole positions have gone to Bezzecchi or Aprilia this season. It was second Ducati pole in a row. But his time was 4 tenths down on the Marc Marquez lap record from Q1. Mark himself in Q2 then had an issue and couldn't do a final lap, which left him in P7. No, I'm mistaken. It left him in P2. And it was crazy close. The top 9 was within 3 tenths of each other, and you know the differences were so small. So Pecco had pole, Mark was second, Best third, Digi fourth. Still rocking it on the Ducati. Jorge Martin down in eighth. Again, not a great qualifying performance, which led us thinking that he's still not really there. Alex Marquez, pole sitter at Jerez and winner, of course, back in 10th. But for the home team, the home fans, Fabio Quartararo 6th and Zarco 12th. Bit disappointing, but it left us with enough appetite for the sprint on the Saturday afternoon. Unlike the weather forecast that we had plenty running up to this weekend and during the weekend, there was no rain whatsoever on the Saturday. So we had a dry sprint, Danny. Disappointed by that, or are you more one of the fans that likes the pure racing and none of these mixed up conditions that don't really always result in the best one winning?
I enjoyed the flat out racing, but I must admit, after the bonkers race from last year in the main race, I was hoping for a bit of rain. I'm not going to lie. It is certainly spices up the races. I think it allows a lot of riders who are not quite got the equipment come to the front, as we saw with Zarco last season and a couple of others. But yeah, I was happy with the sprint. It was a bit of a slow burner, really. It didn't really kind of kick off as we was expecting, but it was good to set us up, and then got us all preempting that it was going to be a wet Sunday, hoping for a repeat of last season. But obviously, slightly different when we got there.
And the dry weather conditions definitely did not disappoint, because we had an amazing start. Pecco blew his pole. Didja had an awful start, dropping back to, I think, P13. But the one that caught our eye was Jorge Martin, starting from 8th, and by the time we got to the real first corner in the track, turn 3, the chicane, the left-right chicane, all of a sudden he was there, P1. I mean, how did he do this, Daddy? Where did he come from?
It was an amazing start, really, when you watch back, weren't it? A couple at the front kind of got bad starts, like say from Bagnaia, and Mark seemed to get away cleanly, but then kind of bogged down a little bit. But yeah, amazing start. It looked like he just hooked the bite up and took off the line like a scolded cat, and then got his head down and systematically worked through what he needed to do. But yeah, certainly took everybody's attention. I think I didn't see it coming, not from 8th on the grid. I thought he'd get a good start, a bit like Bezzecchi, but yeah, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he went on the inside, while Bezzecchi coming out of that right kink with a wobble that kind of threw off Bagnaia, who threw off Mark a bit, and Jorge just, he saw the space, and he had no second thoughts, and just threw it in there. and he wouldn't go anywhere from there. He led the race, the sprint from there, and would win it. Other headliners from the sprint was Fabio Quartararo after the first lap in fourth position. Left everybody in the stands, probably thinking like, oh wow, is this going places? Um, Pecco in third position. Mark dropped back a bit, and then he started following Bezzecchi, who went wide, and that led Bahia getting P2, and it looked like starting to settle a bit. Bahia was even able to close in a bit on Jorge Martin, which of course let us remember the multiple fights they had in the 23 and 24 season. And it all settled down a bit until, basically two laps to go. First, Ugura took P8 from Alex Marquez, so it was a typical Ugura slowly getting into the rhythm. Alex not having fun at all this weekend. And he looked like he could go for Marc Marquez. He was lapping faster than Marc in P7, but then with one lap to go, the talking point of the sprint, which wasn't, you think with such a start, Jorge Martin is the guy, but it was Marc Marquez's crash. Um, what was your first thought, Danny, when you saw him hit the ground?
Wow, that was a big one. It certainly caught his attention, didn't it? It kind of spat out, then gripped up and just spat him off. And it looked like he come down heavy on his shoulder. Obviously, I think it's confirmed what everybody thought, that he was a lot more banged up than what he was kind of letting on with his comments after the race about the screw being damaged, and they look from the doctors has kind of unearthed some extra damage, so he's got to go and have some surgery on it. But yeah, it was a big crash. Glad he got up and walked off. He looked like it took the wind out of him, but it was a shame really, because he was kind of reserved. It looked like he was just starting to come on a little bit close into the riders, and then to take one of the names out of the race was a shame. But fingers crossed he can get in bed, repair, and come back and get back to the old Marquez and add a bit of spice going forward.
Yeah, when he went down, I thought in first instance you only saw the massive wreckage chasing him into the gravel pit, and you saw him on his knees, I think, and his head down. And then for a few seconds, I thought like, oh, this looks bad. This looks like one crash too many for him in the state that he was in. Uh, how much can this man take? But then, luckily, a few moments later, we saw a shot of him walking, so that was good, and we saw the replay of the crash. It looked pretty violent. Like he lost the bike, it gripped again, it threw him off the bike, landing on his foot, and it gripped another time, and just it just threw him off. And then it turned out that, as he later would say in the debrief, that they had planned a surgery anyways, because a loose screw, a bone fragment, I think, of an operation from years ago, I think 2019, had been hindering him, and they kind of located that as the reason he was struggling from the previous races. So why not take two surgeries while you're at it? We'll talk a bit more about Mark in the Grand Prix review, but it robs us of him participating in at least the Barcelona race, and he didn't want to put a date on his comeback, but you think it looks unlikely that that this will be the only weekend he'll miss, especially as we just mentioned, Maverick's still not there, and that is supposed to be about also a screw from an operation not really being there. So yeah, let's hope it won't be that long, but it's a huge blow to him and the team, I imagine. Uh, but this happened, true, but what also happened was Jorge Martin, it all happened behind him. He didn't have a clue about it. He wins the sprint race. Bagnaia finishes in a neat second. Bess secures third. Acosta fourth. Fabio, for his home crowd, fifth. Joan Mir somehow didn't fell off and got sixth. And Ogura in seventh. But yeah, it left us with Mark Marquez out, and that it threw a bit of a shadow over that great sprint race, or at least a great opening and a nice winner. Let's go to our Grand Prix review. Jorge Martin bagging the double at Le Mans. It was actually his first Grand Prix win since Indonesia 2024, Danny. I mean, that was his Grand Prix or his World Championship winning season. Was it a surprise for you that he showed up so strong? Because still, as we said in quali, he only managed P8. Of course, he had an amazing start and hung on to it during the sprint race. But to actually do it again on Sunday, 27-lap race, did you see that coming?
No, if I'm being honest. But Martin's starting to surprise me a little bit. I thought he's a really good rider, especially in his championship year. Obviously, the year before, he was really solid as well. But I weren't kind of too sure on what kind of level he was on. But I mean, he had a tough year last year with the injuries, what he had, the bike and, certain circumstances. But this season, I've been super impressed with him. He's kind of come back, very short testing, hit the ground, and he just seems to be getting better and better and better. And he's really starting to take the lead in the team, I'd say. Bezzecchi's still getting all the major headlines, but I think he's just being a silent assassin, really. He's getting his head down riding, and he put in a phenomenal performance. I was super, super impressed with him.
Yeah, you'd almost forget that he missed the whole of the Malaysia test in pre-season, and he only had those 2 days at Buriram. Yeah, I think you said it right when he looks aggressive. He looks like he's on it, and he slowly, and maybe that's something that you think you're seeing, but it's like he's slowly maneuvering himself into a leading position in that team. While actually, it doesn't seem that long ago that Marco Bezzecchi was stringing together those laps led record, like 100 and so much laps led consecutively and winning the races. But it's like one magic Jorge Martin weekend and everybody's like, oh yeah, he's title favorite now. Do you see it that way?
I think he's starting to gain momentum. Bez has been phenomenal, don't get me wrong. His run of results at the start of the season was incredible, and he's looked very good on the bike. The bikes look really good. He's made a couple of mistakes, which is expected. But I think Martin's just now, I think he's starting to get to grip with the bike. I mean, he's 12 months behind, really, when you put it all together behind Bez. So I think he's starting to get a grip on the bike, get his head down, understand where he needs to focus on. And what I like about him is he takes his time. He's not rushing it. He's aggressive, but he's not like Mark. You know what I mean? He don't see it as that's his only chance and he goes for it. Especially on Sunday, he just got his head down, slowly but surely picked everybody off and then just demolished the gap and continue to sit there and just go and take the win. So, yeah, I think he's getting stronger and stronger, and certainly I think he's a title contender at the minute because it's only between the Aprilias. I don't think anybody else is in it.
Yeah, it looks that way. And well, not a funny thing for Bez, but the peculiar thing is it turned out after the Sunday race, they said that this was the first time that Jorge Martin had been on the exact same spec bike as Bez, because of his lack of testing in pre-season. Jorge Martin said, okay, leave the bike like this. I don't want to test all kinds of wingies and stuff like that every weekend. Just want to get my base setting, get to know the bike even better. And then the Jerez test, that was the moment when he started to test all the stuff that they had been putting on Bez's bike during the first couple of races. So, that must be a psychological, I don't want to say slap in the face for Baz, but it can't sit well with him that like he must know also that okay, now we're on the same bike, and then you get a double win from your teammate. Anyway, the Aprilia looks insanely strong. The turns where most of the overtaking happened, the turn 3, the chicane, it just looked like especially the one where he overtook Baz, he just threw it on the inside, and you were like, okay, you're never going to stop that bike in time and actually turn it in the chicane, but he did, and the stopping the bike and still making the turn and not losing a lot of speed. That was always the Ducati strong point, it seemed. And now the Aprilia is just, last race at Jerez, Ducati had a strong weekend, or at least Alex Marquez had a strong weekend. And that had been the race where everybody said, like, yeah, let's wait till Jerez, then we can see the real ranking of teams. But, if you look at the season now, up till now, 5 races, and 4 have been won by the Aprilia team. Yeah, I don't think you can escape the fact that they are just by far the best team at the moment. Winning the sprint also leaves Jorge Martin as the sole leader of most sprint wins ever. He shared that position with Marc Marquez with 17 wins, but now it's Jorge Martin with 18 at number 1 again. Fun little stat. But I was thinking, we know from Jorge Martin in his championship fights with Bagnaia that he was the sprint king. He won a lot of sprint races, especially the 24 season when he won it. And when he won the title, it was, the Bagnaia going down now and then in the Saturday sprint, but Jorge Martin's so consistent. Do you feel like that is where Marco Bezzecchi might lose this title? Because this was only his second sprint finish in 5 races this season. Is that the weak point where Bezzecchi can slowly, how to say this, start losing sight of Jorge Martin running away in the distance with the championship lead?
I think Bez has got to keep his head. We've got to remember as well that Martin's been there, done that, and there's no substitute for experience when it comes to racing. It'll help Martin because he can be calmer. He's been through the experience. It's all new for Bez. Obviously, he's been a race winner. He's obviously won stuff in the past, but in MotoGP, it's a lot different. So he's still got that kind of eagerness. He's got to prove himself, so he's always got to go there. But I have seen with Bez, I think he's starting to understand that you don't have to win every single race. I certainly think he's being a bit more cautious at some of the races and thinking longer term. So I've been super impressed so far with both of them, but it's going to be a hell of a fight. There's going to be handbags at some point because you can see it. Martin obviously wants to get that across the line if he can win the championship to take the number 1 to another team, if it's true with what we believe with the rumours. And Bez is obviously going for his first championship and wants to establish himself as one of the top riders in the sport. So I think Bez has got to be worried, but not too worried just yet. We'll see how the next couple of races go and see how Martin runs at Spain.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Bezzecchi, he still finished second and third this weekend, and I feel in the weekends where he can win, you need to maximize whatever is left. And I think that's a bit more of a mature Bezzecchi, I think, than we've seen in at least his Ducati seasons. Yeah, I think the only thing that maybe not the only thing, but what he needs to be wary of is maybe like you said, maybe a bit of bags slapping, but like the psychological thing. Because Jorge, of course, knows what it's like to be in a title fight. He fought Bez's pal Bagnaia 2 times for it, and I think that is a bit of a risk to Bez. Like, don't make sure you don't get wound up by whatever Jorge does, because I think when push comes to shove, Jorge has a little bit of a devil inside him to achieve what he wants. We also had, of course, for Aprilia, locking out the podium for Aprilia, Ayogura. Starting from P7, he gained one spot on the grid because Mark didn't start anymore. But he made it to the podium. And my feeling was, Danny, that even if Bagnaia had stayed on his bike on Sunday, he still would have taken the podium spot off him, because his late race pace is traditionally good. And I felt like if this race had lasted 1 or 2 laps longer, he might have taken a fight to Baz for P2.
Yeah, Igor has been incredible. He was he had a great race on Sunday. He took some really super aggressive moves, kept the crowd entertained, and I think he put in a great performance. I certainly think he would have got Pecco if Pecco hadn't gone down. But I think, just as we said earlier, I think that Aprilia is such a good bike, and they kind of said in comms as well about kind of the difference between the two bikes, that MotoGP used to be a bit more the Ducati style of you kind of point and squirt, and it was all about getting the bike up as quick as you can, whereas now it certainly seems to be with the wings and the aero, back carrying corner speed through the corners, and the Aprilia just does that in buckets. And you can see it's just sucked to the road and through the corners as it's doing. So I think they've got, I wouldn't say a dominant advantage, but I certainly think they've got the advantage out of the two bikes at the minute. I think there'll be tracks where the Ducati's super strong and Aprilia won't be able to kind of keep up with them, but I think at the minute they've kind of got their whole package, so I would expect Igora to get another podium before the end of the season, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think Ogura is a proof of that the whole package is in the right place. It's not just like the feeling you get with Yamaha and Fabio Quartararo, like, yeah, it's probably like 80% of his talent putting the bike up so much to the front, while you have Baz and Jorge Martin, but also Ogura really performing strong, and even Fernandez now and then. So I think that's proof of that they really made these steps in the last year. Also, great for the Japanese MotoGP fans to have one of their countrymen on a podium, because there was a great stat afterwards. It was the first Japanese rider on a podium since 2012. When a lucky Katsuyuki Nakasuka replaced Ben Spies at Yamaha, and he was just going to gather data as their test rider, but somehow ended up on the second step of the podium. So that was a nice step, and especially for such a big motorsport country to have one of their guys on the podium. Well, not so great and less festive must have been the atmosphere at the Ducati garage. Also, we already spoke about Marquez being out, but the bike as a whole across the Ducati, also the VR46 guys, the Gresini guys this weekend, nobody seemed to get real pace into the GP26. Digi said afterwards that the bike is just unpredictable. That they are not sure. Mark said it. I don't know where that lap record came from, because the one lap I'm not on it, and then all of a sudden I have pace. And Digi said, compared to the Aprilia, that they can be very consistent, take tighter lines into the corners, be very consistent with that line, very precise, while they, on the Ducati, he said, we are in a very tight spot in the entry phase, and if we don't hit it right, and it's really difficult for them, it affects their exit too. Then you're a bit of a racer. Can you maybe, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you maybe explain why, if you can be consistent on entry, how that creates doubt in your mind as a rider or a driver?
Yeah, there's two options really. Obviously, I've not done it on bikes. I've done it in cars and that, but there's two options really. It'll either make you brake earlier, So you lose time on the entry to the corner because you ensure that you're going in with less speed so you can actually hit the apex to hit your line to come out, but you usually lose time on the way in, but you'll be negligible on the exit. Or you can keep pushing and say 3 out of 6 laps, you might hook up the corner, come out of there at the ultimate speed, or you go in, you miss the turning point, which means you braked a bit too late, you've turned in too late, you've now got understeer going in towards the apex, you miss the apex, and you're kind of waiting, because the bike or car, whichever you're in, won't bite and grip into the corner, so you can't rotate it quick enough to line up the exit to accelerate. So you're just constantly losing time, and it feels like an eternity. And I think that's what I mean. And it's worse on the bikes because obviously as you go in, if you miss the corner, you can't just then slam the bike down to try and get it, leaned into the corner to get into it. Because if you do, you're on the brake, you've got lean angle. If you go too hard, you'll come off. So they have to kind of miss the corner and then kind of cut back on the exit to get it. And you've seen it with quite a few people, to be fair, especially up in, I think it was turn 5 or 6, the one just before you go down to like the tight hairpin. There was loads of bikes, especially the Ducatis, missing that apex and going quite wide, as the Aprilias just seem to be a lot tighter. And again, as I said earlier, just carrying corner speed, and that's where the bike excels compared to the Ducatis.
Yeah, because if your front tire in this case doesn't grip entering the corner, it also affects your exit speed because you're just waiting for it to finally do what you want it to do, and you've lost speed while doing so, and of course then your exit speed is affected by that as well. All the Ducati riders, as you said, a lot of them went wide, and they all complain about the front feeling, and it actually felt like, what Pecco Bagnaia had been saying last season all the time is now what all their riders are suffering from. Bagnaia, he eventually crashed out of the race. He said there was a problem that kept building up until he just lost the front. He said it wasn't a human error, but the team are working on it. But I don't know if you saw the images of him walking up to the scooter who was going to take him back to the pit. He was super pissy. These cushions they put into the gravel traps when the doctor is there, the white ones that says doctor. He kicked one of them on his way to the scooter, kicked one of them out of the way, and then he kicked one of the bullards out of the way. And I thought, I kind of understand because he felt good on the bike. He was fast, and then for the second Sunday in a row, you crash out with a problem on the front that is apparently out of your how do you say out of your reach. You can't do anything about it. So yeah, that was because Pecco is always pretty composed, and all the Ducati riders can't say a lot, aren't allowed to say a lot. But I felt that told us quite a bit. And to add to the Ducati woes, Alex Marquez P8 in the sprint crashed out on the Sunday also with a front error. And despite being so solid in Jerez still. So, yeah, it's Barcelona up next, and then I believe Mugello, which is always a Ducati fest. So, yeah, let's see what they can bring to these races. If you are enjoying this show as much as the racing of last weekend, do give us a like on your favorite or a favorable rating on your podcast platform of choice. Maybe you have some suggestions or general feedback. You can always email us at missedapexmoto@gmail.com. And you can also join our MotoGP Fantasy League. The details of that are in the show notes. Danny is making a gesture that he's not doing too well. I didn't dare to look how I did this weekend because I thought all my money should be on Zarco. So yeah. What is always profitable is follow us on Twitter or X at missedapexmoto. And we'll quickly go to the rest of our Grand Prix review. Yeah, Danny. We also already mentioned him for a bit. Fabio Quartararo. Great livery on the bike on Sunday, I felt. Really striking. But for a change, he actually sounded happy afterwards, saying that the bike kind of felt like he could race it. Still, he said things like, "Yeah, let's not start a party quite yet." But he said the bike was more alive and more rideable than he had experienced this season before, and he was only 7 seconds behind Jorge Martin, while at Jerez they were still 30 seconds behind the winner. So that's quite an improvement. What did you think about Pedro Acosta this weekend? Was he a bit anonymous, or did you see him perform or do some things that might point towards a deserved Ducati seat for next season?
I think he was looking spicy, weren't he, at the start? I think he was quite racy at the start. I think there was one point, was it first couple of laps? There was a gap, and then he kind of closed Bagnaia in a little bit, and I thought, oh, this is looking quite tasty here. I think he's got quite a shout. And then he kind of dropped off. He kind of went into no man's land. I can't really remember what he did after that, but I think he had his moments. I think Acosta's still very, very young. He's very got that eagerness. He's great to watch on the bike. Such a character. Um, it depends who's available, really. I mean, they've had Martin, they've got Bagnaia, there's kind of Alex Marquez, but he's having a shocker. We talk about predictions. I mean, my predictions are terrible, working out terrible for the season. But I think out of all the riders they've got on the grid, if you were looking for a long-term rider who's got something about them who can potentially grow into be, the dominant force within the sport, I think Acosta's a great shout. I still think he's got to calm a few bits down, but he certainly looks it. He's maturing all the time. He's not making as many mistakes as what we used to see, despite the odd bit now and again. But yeah, I think he was looking good. It was just a shame because I really wanted him to kind of, a bit like Quartararo, I wanted him to really put in a performance and kind of get KTM on the map. But he can do it in little, short periods at the minute. Fingers crossed they can sort the bike and we can finally see him get a proper win. Obviously, he's got the sprint, but it'd be nice to see him get a proper GP win over the line.
Yeah, I mean, he is the rider who I think that's still winless, but really deserves it. I mean, you can everybody sees the talent, and what I like about him, he has got a bit of an edge. If you we all remember the real days of big rivalries, and at this point, everything's a bit pally. All the riders together, they're not best friends, but still. But you think if you see Acosta, if you listen to him, you see him riding, he is. I think he is likely the one who could, maybe if he starts really contending for the title, could really stir things up, doesn't he?
Yeah, him and Mark could be dynamite.
Yeah.
Absolutely dynamite. Because, if Mark can recover okay and get back to, some form like he had last season and not carry too many injuries, Acosta on an actual top bike, if they get it right, that'd be dynamite and fireworks. Because you
Yeah.
can see it now. There'll be some crashes. Acosta will take him out. Mark will definitely take him out. We're just getting eager because you've got the old guard against the new guard. It'll be irrelevant of how the championship goes. That'd be a great battle to watch, just to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and at least one friend he didn't make this weekend was with Digi. In the penultimate corners of the final lap, Digi was behind him, and he overtook Acosta and I need to do this out of the top of my head. I think it was P5, P4, I think. And Digi overtook him, and while going into the final turn, He was in front of Acosta and then going onto the straight, heading towards checkered flag. He looked over his shoulder to Acosta like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And he knew, and then he looked a second time, and then Acosta afterwards said like, "Nobody overtakes me while looking at me." So yeah, let's hope they meet each other on track again in Barcelona. But it was a nice gesture, or not a gesture, but like a cheeky move by Digi, who is apparently now looking to replace Acosta at KTM to finally get his proper factory seat. But as said, we will all learn about those rider moves hopefully in the near future. Some honorable mentions before we close this episode. I thought Diogo Moreira, he got his first sprint point of the season on the Honda. Nice one for the Brazilian. And Fermin Aldeguer, still not fully fit after his leg break, but on the Sunday, long race, but he still managed to get to P9 from starting 19th. So that's probably a big positive for him. This means that after a double Jorge Martin win, he closed down on Marco Bezzecchi, and the difference is only 1 point. Marco is still leading 128, and Jorge Martin 127, and then with a respectable gap to Digi, who is 44 points behind Bez. All right, Danny. On that note, let's close off with some old school Rider of the Weekend votes. What is your shout on this?
Because we've not discussed it before, and I'm going to steal the obvious one. Jorge Martin. He was incredible all weekend. You know, took the win in both races, amazing start, closed the gap in the championship, and he's really got the momentum with him currently, putting pressure on his teammate, got everybody talking. So yeah, amazing rider, amazing performance, and yeah, see if he can repeat it next time.
Yeah, well deserved. I remember in 24, when it became clear that he was leaving for Aprilia, we all said, "Oh, this is going to be so tasty." Marquez at Ducati, Bagnaia, and then Jorge at Aprilia, because we were so used to just Ducatis fighting it out. And then, of course, it never happened last season, but it looks like it's definitely on now. Yeah, fair shout. And yeah, I think mine will go to Ayagura. For that Japanese podium since a very long time, and very well deserved for him, I think, too. Yeah, there's several moments of the weekend that are contenders. Danny, what's the one that pops up in your mind as the biggest one?
I'd probably say Bagnaia's crash for me. I think he kind of back on form. He was looking really good. Arguably, it was his strongest performance since Japan. I think he looks really good. He got the one over on Mark with a pole. Good result in the sprint. Was looking good in the GP as well. So for him to hit the deck when he looked so smooth and kind of back in the zone was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, shame for Pecco, because I think that would have been quite a confidence boost for him to take forward in the rest of the season.
Yeah, good shout. I mean, everybody knows he's not Marc Marquez on that Ducati, but a good Bagnaia is still worth quite a bit, as we've seen in previous season. I think my moment when I think of it was Jorge Martin after his celebrations when he entered the media, well, not the media pin, but where he parks his bike and the team is waiting for him. And then on his lap after the checkered flag, he was, very celebrating, and gestures and crossing his arms and like, "Oh, look at me," like the tough Jorge that we see so often. But then when he reached his team, he seemed to finally realized like, wow, I've really come a long way, and he apparently or seemingly burst out into tears. And I thought that's that contrast of the first reaction of, oh, look at me, and then when it starts to sink in, I thought it was a good moment. Of course, apart from all the moments that we discussed already. Well, that's it for round 5, and we'll be back very shortly, as it's less than a week with the next round at Barcelona. As always, thanks for listening to Missed Apex MotoGP.